this thing on?
I think it's on.
I think we have a new graphic on there because I don't remember seeing that.
That is new, isn't it?
Well, hopefully.
I don't know if you folks at home can see it, but we've got a new graphic.
Our state-of-the-art
They must have gone through an upgrade without us knowing it. Yeah, anytime something gets an update, new things you don't know how to use pop up.
couple of grandpas here dealing with technology.
Get off my screen.
Anyway, this is Chef Chris. This is Ed. We're here to taste wine
Thank you.
virtually because you can't be here with us. And because of that, we have made arrangements for you to pick up your wine and enjoy this video with us so you don't miss out on all the fun we do here on Thursday night at 6 p.m. every week. We taste 4 delicious wines from around the world. And in this video, we'll be showcasing 2 of them, which hopefully you have in front of you today. These are wines that I've tasted in the past, and Chris has not.
Nope, I'm always blind on these.
So we get his natural reaction.
So we already know they're good,
Well,
because they wouldn't be here if they didn't pass the Ed test. But it's always an adventure for me to
yeah.
wonder what diverse things, because even when we could probably do the same varietal 6 weeks in a row and never get the same profile
Yeah.
on some of these wines. So it's always exciting to dive into these finds of yours.
Yeah, it's a labor of love tasting all these wines. I've tasted a whole bunch last week. These were a couple of the highlights, and I thought you would enjoy them. You being the people out there watching.
We'd enjoy it regardless.
Yeah. So, I tend to try to balance between the kooky and the small to the big and the kind of known areas. So today is 2 very well-known areas, and we're going to start off with Marlborough, New Zealand. This is from Duck Hunter, a very cute little duck there that's going hunting, which is great. I don't know what he's hunting, but there he is. So this is a beautiful Sauvignon Blanc from Marlborough. If you don't know Marlborough, it's on the South Island. There's New Zealand consists of the North and the South, and Marlborough arguably, or factually, I don't know, is the most popular, well-known region of New Zealand, and it is known for, well, Sauvignon Blancs. And this is a great example of why they're known for Sauvignon Blancs, is because they are so delicious.
Do they do anything other than Pinot and Sauv Blanc?
Yeah, they dabble. They dabble, but it's not
they're hanging their hat on those 2, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Here you are going to have what I would consider certainly New Zealand style, but a more refined, not as out of balance as a lot of Marlborough Sauvignon Blancs can be. And as chef and I commonly agree that we want our wines to be more in line with the food. So being out of balance doesn't really work with the things that we do at the chef's table. So we try to have wines that are, I guess, just a little, that's why we handpick them. We want them to be a little bit tighter, a little softer around the edges. But this still brings the thunder of flavor, though.
Boy, is this complex.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It has the tart, it has the mineral, it has the citrus, it has the acid.
And tropical, too.
I mean, it's got it. It's very complex. You're gonna have to do a little thinking on this one.
And there's a heck of a body to this wine. It's not thin at all. It has a great weight to it for Sauvignon Blanc. And this is a very highly rated wine as well. It consistently gets scores in the 90s. This particular vintage was rated a 92 by Wine Spectator, if that matters to you. But
that's a heck of a score.
Yeah, for a price point under $25 for sure, to see a Sauvignon Blanc from Marlborough getting that kind of accolade, I think that says something about it. But
amen to that.
But I think Chris kind of alluded to all the things that he tasted on the first sip. This is why it is highly regarded, because it brings so much to the table.
Man, deliciosa.
Yeah, the acidity is beautiful here, mouth watering. This would go so beautifully with all the things you would expect it to. But then it has a richness to it that I see you might be able to kind of step outside of your normal pairings for this wine because it does have a richness to it, and it will hold up against richer things. It won't be quite as a sharp contrast as some Sauvignon Blancs can be texturally. So
Oh, that's a heck of a statement too, because I mean, normally Sauv Blancs are put somewhat in a corner with their tasting profiles with food. So to go ahead and give the green light to get outside a little bit says a lot about this wine also.
yeah, I think there's a lot you can do with this. The all in all, this is a really well-made wine. That little twist off, don't let it fool you. This is sometimes people think that twist offs mean that the wine's not going to be that complex or a very fine wine, but I disagree wholeheartedly. You still got to taste all those wines. Don't judge before you taste. Don't judge on the cap.
No kidding. I mean, and it's just good business to put a cap on. You know, you're not, especially when you have a fine wine. You have a great vintage, you have a great year, and you want to roll the dice with any kind of cork system and you put yourself out there for spoilage and all these things. So I mean, it shows good sense. Now, obviously, you're gonna lay something down for a couple decades. That's different, but you're not gonna lay this thing down for a couple of decades. So, however, it is a fine wine, and so you want to make sure 100% of your yield is consumed, and you don't want that 3 or 4% coming back spoiled, and beyond that, you might spoil a first timer.
That's right.
And I think that's the real danger with corks, is with the really higher end wines, there's an understanding there that it may happen, but on the sub premium tier, but still not below that, this little in between $25 range, you don't want to lose somebody to a cork mishap because they may not come back. So I just think it makes good sense.
Yeah, and when I think back to the early 2000s when it was New Zealand premium wines that were the first premium winemakers to put twist offs like Spy Valley.
Spy Valley, yeah.
And they were some of the first, $70, $90 bottles to have twist offs. And so New Zealand is, trying to preserve that freshness. Plus, you got to imagine, I mean, everywhere they export pretty far away.
I mean, there's nowhere you're going. It's not, a long tanker ride.
Yeah, they got a long ride, so it makes sense for them to want to secure their wine, maybe even more so.
Yeah, these don't go on airplanes. These go on tankers.
I love it. It's great. It's like it's got a little bit of California, a little bit of France, a little bit of New Zealand, all wrapped into one Sauvignon Blanc.
I gotta tell you, my first sip, it was not indicative. I mean, I wouldn't have liked New Zealand,
right?
Because you're always spot on. But yeah, I mean, it blend the minerality of the French style. It has the fattiness of the California style. I mean, it has remnants of all of it, and it's in the front too. So it's not like you have to wait for the subtleties of that.
Yeah,
you're getting all three styles up front.
Yeah, it's nice to have a wine that is. We talk about this. It's as simple as you want it, or as complex as you want it. You can, if you want to dive into this wine, you can spend a lot of time talking and thinking about all the complexities of it. But at the same time, if you just want to just enjoy it, it can be just a
crack her
wine.
open and serve it to your guests or yourselves and just enjoy it. Absolutely.
That's what I like. When you have mixed guests at the house or wherever it might be, or if you're out to dinner, couples, and you don't really know anyone's background, wines like these satisfy the kind of the wine geek and just someone who's just getting into wine.
No, it's so quaffable. Yeah, I mean, if somebody's just is thirsty.
That's right.
This is fantastic, and you're certainly going to leave a good impression.
Yep, and only 12.5% alcohol. So that's
great starter wine.
Great starter wine.
Yeah.
You won't get face down under the table after a bottle.
No, that's going to put you down there for the long haul.
So, what are you thinking about food-wise, Chef?
Well, I guess I had a little something in mind. And I'm still going to do it, but I'm going to add a layer to it that I wasn't planning on. So we're going to do a crispy salmon belly with this. Love the fat from the salmon belly, but also the lightness of that. I mean, salmon being a little heavier fish because of the fat, not because of the oils. But I think we're going to go with some pancetta on top of this. I think that's really going to help. I mean, we love the citrus with that crisp pancetta, and I think it's just going to be a winner.
That's very generous of you, chef.
Well, I don't you
Those
think
are expensive ingredients.
They are. Only the best for our guests, right?
That's right.
Wouldn't you agree with pancetta on this?
Oh, I love the salinity.
The
Yeah.
salinity with that?
Oh yeah. Yep. It'll be a winner. I just think this wine it would be so versatile with just about anything you threw at it.
Well, we're
Chicken,
thinking about
fish.
a shellfish with this, like we normally do, but you've kind of inspired me to get outside the Sauvignon Blanc box.
Yeah. Lisa and I were down at Topsail with our buddy Levi, and we met our friends Tim and Beth, who are regulars at the chef's table, and we went out and had some seafood, and
Topsail's got a couple of good spots too.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
and they have, when you go to the restaurant, they have 10 different types of oysters to select from. But yeah, Beth was enjoying a nice Sauvignon Blanc with her oysters, and that's a pretty nice pairing, if you ask me.
Thank you.
Seafood.
Most of our oysters, it's just the golden age of oysters when you're living in North Carolina. All the oysters we buy, with a rare exception, we get some Virginia, some Old
Yeah,
Salt.
they offered some James River ones. down
James
there.
River and Old Salts. I mean, and the Old Salts are some of my favorite oysters. But
I had the fat bellies.
Fat Belly's that's right there at top. So I mean, we deal with 7 different oyster farmers. They're right around there. You've got them at Porter's Neck. You've got them at Figure 8. You've got them at Topsail, Wilmington. You've got some of the river oysters there in Wilmington. The Cape Fear coming right in that they'll use to. And you have it all up and down the intercoastal. So I mean, it's just a golden age. You can't go by Cove and not see the baskets out there. I mean, you can pick from so many different Carolina Golds right there at Carolina Beach as well. I mean, it's just a golden age for oysters.
Yeah, that's so. We're going to move on to a red here, and we're going to, well, I say a classic region. How about, it's right in the title, Chianti Classico. That glare is so bad.
So much red fruit on the nose.
We really need
we got
a studio so people can see these
We
bottles.
actually looked into some paper blinds today to help control some of this glare.
Anywho,
Next week,
our video will just take off if we get the right lighting on it.
I think these paper blinds are going to put us over the edge.
That's really what's going to set us apart. So,
Well, and I wanted a different angle this week, so I probably ruined this glare. We normally sit on that end of the table.
was this bad down there?
But
little visor on it.
we never rest.
That actually works.
We never rest. We're always doing new angles.
Yeah,
So-
that's our attention to details is uncanny,
Unmatched.
unmatched. So just trust me that this is from the Chianti Classico if you can't read
And
it.
you'll see it tomorrow too. I mean,
This is from producer Volpaya. They've been doing it for 300 years. 300 years.
rookies.
Older than our country, way older than our country. Making Sangiovese. This is a DOCG, if you maybe can see that. And that little black rooster means something in Italy. That means it's certified by their government as officially in the Chianti Classico region. And that is a logo that they came up with to help people identify the quality of their great reds.
Look for the rooster. Is that a chicken or a rooster?
Well,
Or is it a goose?
I don't know. I didn't check its parts. I'm going to say it's a rooster, though. So the black rooster is a signature
Yeah, it's a rooster.
of quality. And Chianti is a very large region. And it goes, well, it's probably, let me try to do the math here. So probably roughly about 500,000 acres. So
That's the big
it's
region.
really, in the center, of all the Chiantis, in the center, the core of Chianti is it's probably about half or a little less than half the total square acreage is Chianti Classico, and this is considered, the original Chianti region. It expanded out, and it's also considered to be more quintessential. And oftentimes it will have wineries that have more altitude, so they might call them Alto Chiantis, meaning, they're a little bit up on the mountains. And this one is about, let me do my math, around 1,200 feet above sea level. So it is quite a bit up there. And because of that, their wines tend to be more complex than those that are lower down towards the kind of sea level valley side, I guess. When you're looking for Chianti, it just depends on what you're in the mood to drink. If you're looking for one a little more simple, then just traditional Chianti would work. And then if you want something a little bit more complex, you're going to look for the Black Rooster. So this producer produces, I think it's about 3 to 5 different Sangioveses that fall under Chianti Classico. They have a Reserva level, things of that nature. And they also do a Super Tuscan IGT that is like 2/3 Sangiovese and a little bit of Merlot to finish it off. So anyway, my point is they really like Sangiovese. And their winery is actually pretty small, probably right at 100 acres or less. So it is a boutique style, so very hands-on. And we like that because Chef's very hands-on with his food. And I'm just sitting here while we're talking, Chef, looking at the tears on this rascal. And they're slow moving.
They're slow moving.
They're very sluggish, which tells me that this wine has a boatload of alcohol in it. Although the label says 14%, my eyeballs are telling me it's probably a lot more.
It's kind of like those surveys. You're always given a margin of error on
Right.
either side.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's kind of
So this wine is what I would consider fruit dense. It has a real density and intensity of fruit.
almost candied on the nose.
Yes.
Like a candied red fruit on the nose.
Oh, yeah.
And really intense bouquet, in the glass.
Absolutely, and that structure is just perfectly integrated. Hard to believe that this is only 2 years old. Very, very, it feels very harmonized, homogenized, I guess if that's a word, homogenized. Yes, it is a word. It is. And everything seems very put together as if it's been resting for a very long time, but this is surprisingly very young. Oftentimes, Chiantis can be a little bit on the rough side, and so
Wound up,
yeah, tight. And this is ready to drink, delicious, unctuous, really.
Sometimes you just get lucky.
Mm-hmm.
The conditions are right, and it doesn't mean it won't be. Doesn't mean it still won't evolve beautifully, but boy, it's just silky out of the box right there.
This would go with just about every Italian food I can think of.
Every one I can think of.
It's really nice. They're real big that they're organic and biodynamic and all that good stuff. But what good is that if the wine's not good? And so you have a producer that's very conscious of their land, what goes into their water, into their soil, into their air, and simultaneously is making delicious wines. Mm-hmm. So it's a win-win. So you have the benefit of knowing that something healthy.
And one feeds the other, but you're right. If it weren't delicious, no one would care.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it does play into why it's delicious.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're giving the soil its best shot to produce the grapes it's capable of, and without that, you're not going to, at least consistently. You may, chemically hit it right a couple of times, but happy soil makes happy grapes.
Oh yeah,
at least make them reach their potential.
Right, and you're going to be really impressed by the. I tell you that looking at these tears, how much alcohol's in it, but you will not taste the alcohol.
It's not drinking hot.
It's not hot at all.
One bit. It's silky. It's very smooth.
It's incredibly silky. especially
As
in
a
my
matter of
opinion.
fact, I mean, I would have said the opposite. I mean, you told me about the percentage, but I wouldn't have. I mean, just blind tasting, you're not going to think that.
It's almost it's almost thirst quenching,
Right.
which you don't get from reds very often.
Not very often. No, not especially with Sangiovese, which can be very tannicky.
Yeah, this is just
These are
dangerous.
It's
This is like wake up in the
It's a
morning
great
and have a
breakfast wine.
glass.
you know, a little toast and jam,
Right.
A little bacon or prosciutto.
Yeah, and that would totally match this, you know,
Mhm.
the flavor profiles.
It'd be like,
You know, it
"Good
is a
morning."
very toasty, jammy kind of
It
fruit in
is.
here. It's a really surprising flavor profile for a Chianti, in my opinion. Not that I've had every single one of them, but they tend to be more high toned, kind of more to the tart cranberry,
Yeah.
tart cherry. And this is more of a toasty, roasty, ripe fruit.
It's
You know, I feel like after you know how we talk about, you know, you need a wine that quenches your thirst after you mow.
yeah,
I feel like I could go like run a half a marathon,
and
and then they could hand me a couple glasses of some going
maybe
across.
maybe
which is-
one glass of water just to recover for like 3 seconds.
Yeah.
and then immediately get into the Chianti Classico.
Yeah, this is the kind of bottle when you open it, it goes away. You're never gonna need the cork again. You just when you,
You just-
open this, you take the
you just
cork
flick
and
it.
throw it
Just
away.
flick
You're
it.
never gonna
Yeah.
need it again because
Yeah.
you're gonna
put it in your display.
You're just gonna pound this bottle. It's absolutely delicious.
This bottle has about as much chance of surviving this video as that
Yeah.
ant right there.
I got this, Chef, I got this wine because recently, you know, as the chef's tables have been so popular, and, you know, I bought a bunch of wines, as what I call them my toolbox, to keep them ready for whatever you bring me. And there was like 2 weeks ago, I needed a Chianti and I didn't have
Didn't
one.
have one.
I didn't have one, and I was
You were
really
left
upset.
exposed.
I was left. Somehow it slipped through the cracks, and I felt very, naked and alone at the chef's table. So I started asking my guys, you know, hey, I need Chiantis in my life because chef's palate or the seasons,
The season,
pairings,
lots of tomatoes, lots of good
right.
things like that right now.
and we had.
Peppers and tomatoes.
And
are
we had
abundant.
Sangioveses, we just didn't have Chiantis.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's just something about
So you're right. I mean, we're
Chianti.
talking about the difference.
Yeah.
Sangiovese on
Yeah, it
its
shows
own, on
me-
the merits, really big wine, lots of tannins, and a little rough around the edges. Muscular,
me.
I guess. Very
Well, not
muscular
like me.
wine. And this is I don't want to say it's dainty. It's more feminine.
It's more feminine. That's a
Yeah.
great word. It's almost like a French Sangiovese.
Yeah.
You know, we had super Tuscans that I got stashed all over the place, and they're Sangiovese based.
Yeah, but they'll
But they
run you
just
right
weren't
over.
the right
Yeah.
wine for your dish, and it haunted me. So now we got this, and I bought so much of it, I figured, well, we better. I got a little overzealous about it because I was embarrassed I didn't have what I wanted when I needed it, and so since I got so much, we're gonna do it for the tasting as well. And
You might want to put a few aside just for chef's table. We don't plow through this stuff.
yeah, it's gonna go quick, and I feel like people that try this are gonna really like it. This
You're gonna sell a bunch of this.
yeah, it's gonna
You're
sell.
gonna sell a pile of it.
Yes, and we've also just in terms of the tasting, we've had so many new people show up, and it's really
where
exciting.
are they all coming from?
I don't know.
New faces everywhere.
Sometimes they're travelers, sometimes they're locals that have heard about it and just
They're finally ready.
they were ready
Yeah.
for it. Yeah, and it's just been a lot of fun getting to talk to people about wine, and that's why we do it. Chef Chris and I, we like food, we like wine, and we like to share with other people, and that's really how this all came about in the first place.
That's what it's all about. We're combining our two favorite things, so it comes real naturally to us.
Chef, what kind of food you gonna throw at this?
Well, thank you very much. I don't know
Yeah,
if I was gonna be able to make it through
yeah, you
this
sound a little
conversation. A
verklempt
little
there.
hoarse. Goat cheese gnocchi with this.
Oh, really?
Oh, really? Oh, for sure.
That's awesome.
All right. So, do you want some seared beef or prosciutto on top of the gnocchi with this? I'm worried this is too light for beef. I got a little pork belly too.
Pork belly.
All right.
Yeah, I like pork
Pork-
and Sangiovese.
Yeah. Pork belly, goat cheese gnocchi. We're gonna finish it with a little rainbow chard from Inglewood. Get a little grass in there, a little herbaceousness. Yeah, it's gonna be just delicious.
That's good, clean living right there, chef.
We could do
That's
worse.
a really balanced meal.
We could do a lot worse in life, couldn't we?
Yeah.
But yeah, some salmon belly and pancetta.
What a great way to
Pork belly and
to
gnocchi.
finish what many people would consider their last week of freedom, because I think school starts back up. So all these teachers out there are probably getting ready to gear up, and all the administrative people are getting geared up.
Oh yeah, I mean we're knee
Coaches.
deep. We're knee deep in getting our
Bus drivers.
school checklists. You know, we're buying school supplies, and my oldest stepson left this week already. He's heading back to Kansas, finish up grad school, and Lauren, our hostess, my youngest, she starts back Wednesday. I think Isabel starts Tuesday. I think she finished driver's ed yesterday.
Yikes.
So I got to take her for her test. I think it's the 30th.
Is she a good driver?
Yeah, she is.
Good.
We've been driving a lot lately. She
Yeah.
drives the truck well. We've been going around town and doing stuff. They actually got out on the yesterday. They got out on 52 and did some things.
Good.
And I mean, I haven't been doing the big roads, but they've been
Yeah.
doing some cool stuff.
Well, just keeping them focused is the hardest part.
Yeah, but yeah, we're starting to
That's
see.
that's always my biggest problem, staying focused.
Staying
on the road.
focused.
Yeah.
We got a lot of distractions, and we don't turn the radio on. We
Yeah.
don't take devices, but
Right.
that won't last long.
No,
That's
it
just
won't.
because they're with adults. But,
Yep.
But if you get a good foundation, I guess those things will feed into it. But
You have that car with all the fancy features
Yeah, you don't have to
that
touch anything.
beeps if you get off out of the lane or get too close
Mm-hmm.
to something.
and you can even talk to it. It'll do whatever. You can voice command most
Right.
everything,
Yeah. So
which I'm really trying to. It doesn't like cuss words. I found out.
really, kind
It
of
doesn't respond well to them. Well, it just doesn't respond. I mean, it wants it. But yeah, I mean, it's like usually when I cuss at something, it gets done faster.
Yeah. Usually that
I mean, that
you
kind of
certainly get a
speeds up-
reaction.
It
out of
speeds up
Yeah.
the process.
Mhm. Yeah.
It slows down the process.
Huh,
with the truck.
weird.
But yeah, life's I think gonna have a little more normalcy. I think the vacation seasons will, at least the long vacation season. I think of course for us now, we're starting, with in fall impending, our tourists actually pick up. We had probably the busiest tourist summer I can remember.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
And we haven't even really, our season is fall for tourism, but it's more of a weekend only kind of tourism in the fall because people are working and they aren't vacation. The summer is every day.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just been wild to see
2 o'clock, the restaurant's full.
every day.
Yeah. 2
Every day.
o'clock.
2 or 3 o'clock, and you can't.
You know those are tourists.
Yeah, of course. Although the new modern economy here, I mean, the workplace, who knows? But I think they are
Yeah.
tourists. But I know a lot of folks. I know you do too. That they're not going back to the office.
Yeah.
And even if they do, it's like a split, like a 3-2 kind of thing. And the general consensus seems to be that beyond being available, that your 8-hour, your 9-hour, whatever day at the office, you're still only doing 4 or 5 hours of work.
Yeah.
You just had to be there. It's just this false
Right.
window that felt like, well, you got to work 40 hours a week or whatever it
Yeah.
is. And now that folks are working at home, they're getting up at 8
Getting just as much done.
and they work until 2, and they're getting the same amount of work done. And they're like, all right, my day's over. I'm going to go out and enjoy myself. We see a lot of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess this is what it would be like if we worked from home. This is what we'd be doing, right?
Yeah,
In a kind of a way.
in a way. I mean, we would still have to
It's still
we'd make things. I
Yeah.
mean, you would be tasting and boxing wine. I'd be creating, and
Yeah.
you would be tasting food to see how to tweak it, and we would put it in a box and somebody pick it up.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, we're going to start family meals back next week.
Next week, huh?
Well, it's again, the vacation season's winding
Oh, yeah.
down, and
People are
people
gonna
are
be
back to
looking-
school. They're not going to have as much time
Yeah.
on their hands. I think it's time to bring it back.
Family meals are coming back. How exciting.
It is exciting. I've missed them.
Yep. I know a lot of people out there have too.
They're fun to do.
Well, I guess that winds down another delicious week. We've hit 2 classics, Marlborough, New Zealand, and of course, Chianti Classico, the Tuscan favorite of, remember they used to come in little
Famed, the baskets that they were. They looked like little lamps almost. With the little,
people would melt their candles
Yeah,
in
man.
and stuff. Well, with it, Chianti.
Now you're seeing some throwbacks of that. Like
Yeah.
every now and then you'll see them, and they're just like new wines made to look old school.
Right,
Like,
right, yeah. Well, there's a little, what is that? Nostalgia.
Nostalgia, a little retro.
Yeah. Well, this is not your 1970s Sangiovese Chianti Classico. This is certainly a more modern version, and I think it's absolutely delicious, although it is, remember, Classico, and that's important. Look for the Black Rooster, and look for us every week to be doing videos with delicious wine and talking about the weather and whatnot.
And whatnot. We always have a little story for you.
Hope y'all have a great week.
Great to see you. Thanks for being with us.
See ya.